welcome to the Soholiff Spotlight. I'm Liz Farah-Hardy, and I'm joined today by Julie Manuelade. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Who has made the most beautiful film called Overcast, and it's just gorgeous. It really is. Congratulations. So, just to tease our audience, could you give them a little snippet of what the film is about?
Yeah, so Overcast is the story of Marcus, who's a young and freshly evaporated cloud who has big expectations about the sky and life. So he goes out and explores the skies in order to find his place. But as we all know, life and the skies are very hostile and difficult to the young and naive. So, yeah.
Oh, and it's so beautiful and imaginative and creative. I mean, where did you come across the script? Where's the idea come from?
So I first had the idea when I was in a plane and I was looking at the skies through the clouds through the window, and it was just so nice. And I thought, it would be cool to make a film about clouds. And then as I was on that plane journey, I just started imagining this sort of story about this little cloud and, the sort of wind station where he'd come to. And then I remembered that when I was a kid, actually, my grandfather wrote me a story called Le Petit Nuage, which is the little cloud, about this lonely young cloud that roamed the skies and was very lonely. And I was like, oh my God, maybe there's an unconscious thing there because it was my favorite story. So yeah, and then I went back to read that story too to see if I draw some inspiration. So it's definitely a mix of my own experiences because there's a lot of me in this film and also some bits from that story that my grandfather wrote for me.
Oh, so lovely that it's come from there. I mean, how was the process making it, developing it? Because it sounds so personal as well. What was the process there?
I'm not going to lie, I think that was the hardest script I ever wrote. I mean, yeah, to be fair, because the one I just finished now was not easy either. Because it was the first time that I opened this script and there was a blank page and I was like, I didn't know how to start. How do you describe a wind station, something that's, So, yeah, so that was definitely a lot of try and error. The first couple scripts were horrible. And then, yeah, in terms of developing it, I don't know, because the way what happens with me, I often have, an idea that will pop in my head. And I'm going to let it brew in the back of my head for a long time. This one brewed for probably 10 months before I started actually writing it because I was busy doing other things. So by the time I actually decided to write it was pretty developed. I had the sort of clear character in mind and, the clear journey of the film. So then, yeah, it was just a matter of putting it on paper. And so then I don't write a script straight away too. I also do I'm very old school. I have a notebook.
Cool.
And I have always one notebook dedicated to each script, and I'm just going to write character descriptions, monologues, step outlining the world, everything, and then when I feel like I've got it figured out, I'm going to start writing the script. So it's a long process.
Oh, no, that's fascinating. So you're really developing characters. If you're doing their monologues and stuff, that's amazing. And what was really lovely about it as well is there's very sort of a very light touch to it, where it's this kind of it's almost surreal comedy, but it also feels really important. It's very, very moving. It's very touching. I mean, did you set out to do that?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I think so I always thought that I was going to write really sad dramas. And then for some reason I kept on writing. I couldn't help but write things, have fun with it,
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think it's always a dramatic story what I write. But I think I always bring some humor and lightness to it because it just makes it easier, I think, to talk about it. It makes it more fun for me too to write, because I can go crazy. So yeah, from the beginning, it was always gonna set out to be quite moving, and my characters always share also something in common. They're always, lonely and desperate for love and attention, and my themes are always about loneliness and belonging and things that I feel, So
yeah.
I think there's always this sort of question somewhere in what I write, and so that was always the goal. I just put it in a fun space, where we can talk about it while laughing about it. So
yeah, I mean, do you think that when things are comedy, it's easier to kind of open yourself yourself up and actually be able to go there with the things that can be difficult to talk about sometimes.
Yeah, completely. I'm a big fan of comedy dramas. I think it's funny because I never thought I'd write comedy. I always thought, I'm not smart enough to write this. But
you are.
but I just think that, there's something about it that makes it easier to watch and to talk about. And it's true because when I wrote a drama, I think I only ever wrote one, I just felt like this heavy weight in my chest. It was kind of bringing me down. Was like when I've written comedy things that in a way was more dramatic story, it was always with this lighter touch that it made it easier for me to write. And I think it's also more enjoyable because I think also there's so much bleak drama right now, which is great. God. But, sometimes when I'm home, I'm like, I can't. I've got to watch something nice. And I think it just makes it easier for people to watch. And I think it's easier to come out with something,
Yeah. I have to ask you about the set because the set is incredible on there.
Thank
you. How did you go about that? Where did that come from, and what were the challenges with that as well?
You have no idea. Honestly, I think this film is a product of an amazing collaboration. Like, it's not just my brain, it's a lot of brains put together. My production designer and cinematographer are both really good friends of mine, and they're both amazing women who are so creative, and the three of us worked so closely together. Like for months we were literally together every day and coming up. It was a long process, but it was first the color palette, the references, the researches, and then it was how are we creating a sky? So it was like trying out fabrics. We would just go and try and light fabrics from behind and just try and understand. So it was a big collaboration. I think they're also both geniuses, in what they do. Yeah. So it's definitely them two bringing us together. I think we made that. And I think also we were very lucky with this film that we received a lot of generous help from a lot of people that really liked the project and believed in it. I mean, half of the set we actually got it for free.
Oh wow!
Which was amazing. Then the actual set, it was even that was a process. I remember when we were building it, it was one of those where we didn't know what it was going to look like until we finished it, and we were finding cardboard and trash outside to just tape on the flat to give it volume, and we were looking at it. It looked like I have the progression pictures. It looked like an art exhibition at some point where there was things hanging. It was just and we were so crazy by the end of the second day of build by watching at this blue wall. We came home and we were thinking, should we just take it down and redo it? And then we didn't, and I'm glad because it turned out so well. But it was an experiment from the beginning to end. We all knew this was a very ambitious and crazy project, and it was all our first times kind of doing this too. So we were kind of trying to take it each at a time, keep going and see how it goes, and it turned out great. I'm so happy because we had so much fun. But it was we didn't know what it was going to be like until we got there, honestly. I mean, we hoped it was going to be great because we had great plans, but on the set build, we're all let's see how it goes.
It just looks amazing. And of course, the other thing was the music. The music that really set the atmosphere as well. It was really enchanting.
Yeah.
Yeah. How did you go about with that?
So actually, I had this song that I would listen to a lot when I was writing, which is The Mystery of Love, from Call Me By Your Name.
Yes.
And I thought there was such a melancholy about it that was really beautiful. And that's really what inspired a lot of the script. And so I sent that to the composer saying, obviously, don't do that. But, this is I want some melancholy, something like that. And obviously there's a journey between, when Marcus first evaporates and he's young and naive, and the end where he's actually an adult, that's understood that life is not that easy.
Oh, it's beautiful. I mean, do you think a metaphor, working with metaphors, is something that you really care about and want to put in your work?
I think so. I mean, I never, it was one of those where I was just kind of writing this because I was like, I want to write it. You know, I just never thought like it was about metaphors.
And of course, the red scarf was, that was a very powerful, beautiful little bit in there. I don't want to give the story away.
That comes from the story from my grandpa, the scarf.
Oh, really?
The scarf is a direct reference of the story my grandpa wrote for me.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah. The scarf and the moon, both are like, that's what came from the story.
Oh, that's so nice, because I found a meaning to it when I was watching it. So to hear that, I'm like, oh, that's really lovely. I mean, was there a specific meaning in the film with that, or was that a personal thing for you?
I mean, yes, it's definitely got a meaning in the film. It's, you know, because Lucius tells him, when Marcus asks, what's with the scarf? And he's like, it gets cold, you'll see. It's just the idea that, you know, when you're a cloud on your own, not surrounded by other clouds, you'll get cold. Yeah. And Marcus doesn't get it, but Lucius gets it because he used to be Marcus, you know? And so that's kind of like the meaning of this scarf is, you know, Lucius has just accepted it, and then when he goes away, obviously, he leaves it for Marcus, because...
Yeah. And, of course, what's really exciting is this is actually the first film festival it's playing at, isn't it? It's the world premiere, which
yes.
we're absolutely over the moon about.
Yeah. That's a good one.
And are you going to be going off on the festival circuit with this after?
Yeah, I'm hoping. I mean, I submitted to a couple, then, you know, it's expensive submitting, so we'll see. But yeah, hopefully it gets into other places. I don't know, we'll see.
Why did you choose the Soholiff?
Well, actually, it was recommended to me.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. It was by someone actually that played, I think she's one of your judges. Her name is Athena.
Oh, cool. She's not a judge this year, actually, because she has a film in the festival.
Oh,
so
okay.
So she's taken from judging duties.
Okay.
But yes, that's fabulous.
Yeah, I went to one of her, like when I first met her, she was just a keynote speaker, and she mentioned your festival, and that's when I was thinking of sending this to festival, so I put a note, and then, submitted later.
Gold star for Athena then.
Yeah.
Oh, well, look, thank you so much for coming and speaking to us today.
No problem.
And thank you for your beautiful film. We're just over the moon with it. It's so gorgeous.
Thank you.
So make sure you watch this. Full cast, Overcast. It's beautiful. And it's totally unique.